It's coming up to 10 minutes past 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And, Rob, I was talking to someone who in approximately 10 seconds will become a friend of the show. Yes. During the week, and she told me about a very important event that's coming up, and I said, you need to get on here and have a chat. Her name is Katherine Colbert. Hello, Katherine.
Good morning, Neil. Morning, Rob.
Bang, you're now a friend of the show because you've spoken on the show twice.
Good to have you back, Katherine, in the agricultural world that you and I both know a lot about and love. Probably experiencing, if you look across the entire range of the state of Victoria, I would say times that certainly have never happened in my life.
And that's a long life.
Yes, it's an interesting environment in agriculture at the minute, and I'm happy to be here to talk about everything, but it's, if everyone down in Geelong can keep their fingers crossed for some rain to come our way, that would be lovely.
We've got about 20 mil forecast for the next week, and hopefully that will extend right through the southern part of the state. But up in your neck of the woods, the Wimmera Mallee area, you've had some already to tease you along, but certainly another 20 to 40 mil would be greatly appreciated, I imagine.
Absolutely. It's very dry. We've had 2 relatively dry years for the growing season with a bit of summer rain, but this last summer has seen very little. We've had a little bit of rain so the farmers can, I guess, breathe again, but we are still watching the forecast on the daily.
So we should just introduce your, if you will, qualifications for being a person who's about to speak, because you are a resident of the Mallee. That's a good start. You are a person who works in the agriculture industry by way of having a family farm just outside of Nil. And also, you are the executive officer of the organisation, what is known as Partners in Ag. Are all those statements true?
Correct, although I think Nil would classify itself as Wimmera rather than Mallee, but it's looking very Mallee-like at the minute.
I tossed a coin in my brain and it came down Mallee. You're probably right, it's probably Wimmera. Whatevs.
No.
Yeah, they argue a bit on the border.
Yeah, and you are a person who works in agriculture in the Wimmera Mallee region.
Yes.
How have I done?
Yeah, you got yourself out of trouble there.
Excellent. You're certainly not in Gippsland, let's put it that way.
No, definitely not in Gippsland. But Partners in Ag does work right across Victoria, but we do tend to focus on this half of the state. We're a not-for-profit organisation with a volunteer board, and we do training workshops and events to farmers and rural communities. And we've been going since 2001. Which is quite an amazing feat in this industry. We started as Women in Grains, and we've evolved over time to reflect the changes in farming and the industry.
It's a really interesting thing I've noticed in the industry. From when I was a lad, and I remember my father and neighbours, they socialised, but there wasn't a lot of talk about the industry. They didn't share a lot of ideas and stories. It was very much on your own, but luckily, and for the betterment of people's well-being as well as the industry itself, that more and more farmers are prepared to share their stories, successes and failures, which has helped everyone improve and work together on a lot more issues, which I think has been a revolutionary change, and it's organisations like yours that are driving that and offering a platform that farmers can come to and share that news.
Absolutely. We through our workshops, we find, the presenters provide so much valuable information, but it's the offline conversations from participant to participant that those 1%ers of, this is what I do, have you tried this, it might work for you, it might not. Those sort of conversations really add so much value to what we do, and, we've still got people that started Women in Grains in 2001 that keep in touch with us, and every time we're doing something in the area, they reach out and drop in and, all that. So it adds so much value, the communication between farmers as well as the specialists we bring into the workshops.
And with that, we've talked a lot about health, how men tend not to talk about health issues where women are more likely to chat. And in agriculture, again, when I was a boy, women in agriculture tended to be at home looking after children, preparing meals, doing all that stuff. But now...
Ducks on the pond.
Ducks on the pond, very important part of the woolshed environment when I was growing up. But importantly now, women are taking a lot stronger role in the management of the farm, interest in the business, and of course in many, many cases actually working the dual roles of house and the farm too, which has been also a positive revolutionary change to our agricultural industry.
Absolutely. You know, in our family situation, my mother-in-law is the livestock manager. She's running the cattle and the sheep, and, you know, that's her domain. So she's full-time on the farm after working in private businesses all her life, and she is such an amazing role model for women going on farm. I've got friends who are full-time on the farm, and you're just seeing that more and more. We're also seeing people coming back to the farm after going to uni and, you know, doing a commerce degree or an engineering degree and bringing those skills back to the farm, which is amazing as well.
I'm still trying to join the dots between livestock manager and mother, because they're not a million miles apart, are they?
No,
we need to think it through. Because I think the other thing too, Katherine, and I've had this conversation with you before, I think, and several other people, that in many ways farming was something you did an apprenticeship in. You know, you learn from dad, who learned from granddad, who learned from great-granddad, and a lot of the skills were picked up were kind of more in an apprenticeship kind of, watch me and I'll show you how to do it. Whereas you say now, a lot of the activities required in running a successful business, which is what farming should be, are done by people who have gone away and learned a particular set of skills, whether they be agricultural science, agronomy, economics, commerce, whatever it is. So I guess the learnings are different.
Definitely. There's still that multi-generational learning on farm happening, but we're seeing, you know, the size of machinery, the technology adoption on farm. You know, there's new skills having to be learnt on the go on farm, and people coming back onto the farm with skills and experience in other industries is just making agriculture all that more innovative and safer, and you know, just bringing everyone along for the ride with them in sharing. So it's not all just the traditional, you know, father teaching son. It's going up the other way, saying, you know, this is how you use the auto steer, and this is how we can check all of our soil moisture probes and our, you know, online weather system through the internet, and all those different things that contribute to the farm now. You have to be a jack of all trades and some to be a farmer now, and you're correct in saying it's run like a business. They're, you know, for the city people, they're multi-million-dollar businesses that are making decisions every day with elements that are out of their control.
And the potential downside of that, and well, it is a downside. It's through lived experience. Sometimes when the children go off and they learn the new modern skills and they come home and try and adapt that into what was the old great-grandfather to grandfather to son system, sometimes there is a bit of butting of heads, and it doesn't go so smoothly. And I don't know whether your organisation helps that transition of management, but sometimes smooth, but sometimes not so.
Yes, and we always hear the horror stories in those types of situations. It comes back to succession planning to a point, but also every element of the farm requires a level of communication skills, and I think there's been a lot of emphasis on improving the communication on farm, which touches every aspect of what we do, whether it's you know, training new staff, or talking about safety, or, you know, if we're looking at you know, spraying or harvest, whatever it might be, the communication skills that we bring as a group on farm is really important, and I think that's more coming into focus now, that traditionally potentially hasn't been. It's do as I say, not as I do situation, which is, how I've also dealt with my netball coaching career as well as on farm.
Yes, I forgot to mention she's one of the leading coaches of netball in the northwest of this state, you understand?
As well as all the other stuff.
That's what you said I had to say. Now, Katherine, you used the S word in there. You slipped it in nicely, and I liked also the fact you slipped in the succession planning concept there as well, because there's a few training programs, I believe, that Partners NAG are in the process of doing. But the primary, I mentioned earlier, there's a really important event coming up, and that is Farm Safety Week is approaching. Discuss.
National Farm Safety Week is in July every year. This year it's the 20th to the 26th of July, and it's through Farm Safe Australia really lead this. They often promote, produce and launch their annual farm safety report, which goes through all the statistics of what's happened on farm in the last 12 months, which, is quite confronting when, the numbers don't lie. What this year's theme is second chances, who knows how many you'll get, which is shining a light on the near misses that happen on every single farm across the country. So, those near misses can often lead to, often highlight, a hazard or a risk that will potentially lead to injury or, unfortunately, fatalities down the track if it's not addressed.
Yeah, these issues, one of the ones I was talking about before with youngsters coming home and saying, okay, we can't do that like that anymore. The risk is too high. You can't try and fix that machine while the PTO shaft's running. You can't climb up that ladder without the safety protection. You can't get in that crane without harness. All of those sorts of things that would never have been thought about 30, 40 years ago. But you're right about the numbers. They're horrific for agricultural stuff. And, of course, so many jobs that are done by people on their own that have a high level of risk, and then you probably add to that risk because you feel you need to do it quicker, you've got to hurry. All of these things, you just need to take a really long breath. So I credit you and your organisation for making people stop and think about this.
Yeah, it's something that, we all go, yes, we want to be safer, but implementing that change and the behavioural change on farm is taking that next step that, we see people do really well, and we see others taking on the she'll be right mentality, we've done it forever. And, we're seeing more and more people come working on farm and wanting to join agriculture that don't have a background on farm. And so the old, farming common sense and logic is not necessarily there with new staff. But on the flip side, 44% of the fatalities in people over 60 years old. So, while we're looking at training our new staff, we need to remember that, the statistics are saying that it's nearly the original generation or the second generation in on farm that are coming through on the stats. So it's about remembering, going back to basics about, what we can do on farm to make it a safer place for everyone, which is, what we're trying to do. And we've done a bit of a pivot with delivering our workshops, and we've converted them to online resources that can be done at any time with lifetime access. So we understand farming is an extremely busy profession, and to get a day off farm to go and learn about farm safety, which is can be quite hard to quantify in return on investment compared to spray workshops or, your succession planning or financial management workshops. So we've, developed 2 online workshops around farm safety and psychological safety, where people can just do chapters at a time and come back, every 12 months and sort of do a bit of a refresher. So we're trying to adapt our services to how the farmers can, looking at learning.
And I think the other thing that people don't necessarily appreciate is, okay, let's suppose we were talking about something that's a bit more specific to life in central Geelong. You know, maybe it's learning how to get a home loan or something. Someone says, right, we're going to have an event at the town hall. It takes people 15 minutes to get there. They do the hours session and go home. In the case where, for example, you said, you know, we're going to do a workshop in Horsham or in Ballarat, if someone's out at Patchawallick, it's a hell of a drive to get there, spend an hour and turn around. It's just easier not to do it. So by doing this sort of video and online stuff, it means people can, you know, kick back with a glass of red wine one night after they've had their evening meal and watch a video or do a couple of modules.
Absolutely. We find for particular workshops, farmers are happy to travel up to 100 kilometres to get there. If there you can see the value, but it's also the right time of year. The weather is what it's been forecast at, and, you know, they're going, and that's front of mind for them at the moment. We're finding with farm safety, we get a lot of the female partners or the staff or from corporate farmers, the managers coming, and they are finding it great information, and the feedback is, I wish my husband, my son, my father-in-law was sitting next to me to hear this messaging. So our online course allows them to do that, or at the very least watch it once and then get them to sit down with a cuppa on a rainy afternoon and you know, at least start it and sort of take in what they want. And, you know, there's topics in there that they lead through each other, but, you know, you might be getting to the point in your farm where you've expanded and you need to put on new staff for the first time ever, staff that are outside of the family. So what do we need to do when we're bringing people that aren't family members onto our farm so they can, you know, fast forward through and find that particular chapter on policies, procedures and recruiting new staff. So we're really trying to make it as flexible as possible to hit as many farmers, and then hopefully giving them the motivation and the information to go, okay, this is the starting point. I either need some help and access services through WorkSafe Victoria or the VFF or ourselves and facilitators, or right, I've got enough information to get started and make that work for our farm business.
Katherine, that statistic about death and injury over the age of 60 really brought home my own experiences of so many people saying, I've always done it like that and I'm still okay. But the reality is when you get to a certain age, and I'm at that now, where trip hazards in an untidy workshop or the ability to climb or just lift weights, they've diminished rapidly. But it's about getting that into the mindset of the people that are in their 60s and 70s and doing the things they've always done. Is that part of your workshop, to really drill down and put the onus on individuals to just realise that they need to change bad habits?
Absolutely. The employers have quite a lot of responsibility to provide a safe working environment. The employees also have to contribute to that and have a requirement to stay safe. With the over 60s stat, I think, you know, you go through the milestones of retiring from sport. You know, your physical activity is directly related to your working on farm. So, and we're not lifting as much, we're not walking as much as an industry. The technology advancements, the bigger machinery means, you know, we're not as active day to day. Obviously other industries such as, you know, dairy and cattle, there is still a lot more physical exertion, but we're sort of finding, you know, and not having a go at you, Rob, personally, but
go on.
Listening over 60 as farmers, but you often, you know, you hit 40 and you realise you're not 20 anymore. You hit 60 and you realise you're not 40 anymore when you're doing things, and that's not just farming, that's socially and sport related. And
yeah. She's obviously been to the gym where we go.
No, it's just, I think trip hazards and the ability to lift weight and carry weight are the two that have really been brought home to me in the last little while. And those accident stats that you just reminded me again of that. But it's the pig-headedness that you've got to get through. And this workshop, when you really get people in a group and confronting the issue collectively, that may be a way to stop people from just doing dumb stuff.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot more focus on physical and mental health for that over 40 bracket in the regional areas, like the Fat Farmers franchise is doing great things in getting sort of the inactive active in that male dominated regions. And locally we've had footy training for farmers that for the retired farmers on farm, that just getting them doing things just out of work. And the flip side of that is that social connection and the chat and the sausage sizzle, or the esky afterwards is nearly just as important as the physical side. But the trips and falls is a massive one, but also the machinery is huge. And also just things like, we've all got a phone attached to our hand majority of the time, so it's, jumping down the ladder while you're on the tractor while you're on the phone and missing that last step and rolling the ankle and go, oh, that was lucky. You do that a number of times and you will absolutely do your ankle at some point.
I've got a hole in my forehead right now from doing exactly that this week, talking on phone while walking and not seeing an obstacle, and near knocked myself out. So I'm living proof of don't do it. But I did it, so I've now learned a lesson. Do not do two things at once. Men are not capable of that.
And look, we all do it, and I think the theme from Farm Safe Australia for that Farm Safety Week is around the near misses. If you ask any farmer what is a near miss that has stuck with them, and I think the story of what they have done and survived would shock a lot of people.
Yeah.
Every farmer has had got away with that one this week. But now this initiative is saying, okay, well, yes, but next time you might not be so lucky. So what can you do on your farm to rectify that near miss?
Katherine, we need to wind things up. Before we do, we just need to know, okay, this is amazing stuff you guys are doing. Where can people find out more?
They can find out more through our website at partnersinag.org.au. And we will be launching the Farm Safety and Psychological Safety online courses during National Farm Safety Week. So that's exciting for us to get these two courses off the ground. We do already have our succession planning workshop out there, which is just as important, but I haven't found a succession planning week for farmers out there on the calendar yet. So if you do that, let me know and I can come back and talk about succession planning. But for the farm safety, we will have it up and running in a couple of weeks. And yeah, our website at Partners in Ag is the place to go. But I would just like to thank WorkSafe Victoria, who have supported this project. I know that WorkSafe being based down in Geelong, there's probably quite a few listening down there, and also to Inspire Ag and Sally Murfitt and Denise McClellan, who've partnered with us on this project. And also there's another gentleman who's helped me quite considerably, named Neil Butler.
Never heard of him.
If you guys know him or not, loves to chat and has been wonderful in helping us with this project as well.
That's very kind. I've only had a radio show called something to do with chatting. It'd be great, wouldn't it? It's been really good fun to be involved. I've met Sarah, I think, from Mast Lawyers, also up in North Geelong, who has helped out on the succession planning thing. And of course, Denise and Sally, the other conversations I've had. Really interesting conversations, folks. I get a chance to have a look at those. Please do so.
Katherine, on behalf of all old men in agriculture, thank you so much for what you do. It's really, really important, and it'll force change, because I think the men in agriculture have proven that they will change if they're forced, and what you're doing, without being brutal and nasty with a big stick, it's just about giving the information, putting those stats out in front, and letting people know that they need to be more and more careful, because it's a very, very dangerous industry, the agricultural industry, and you're doing great work, so well done to you.
Oh, thank you. Growling at old farmers is a bit of a specialty of mine.
Just older blokes, I've found. They don't need to be farmers. Katherine, thank you for that. We will talk again, no doubt.
Great. Thanks very much, guys.
Bye, Katherine.
There she is, Katherine Colbert. She's the Executive Officer of Partners in Ag, and that's partnersinag.org.au.